Hey, everybody. Welcome. So glad to be here with all of you tonight. I am still in Russia, but I am going to go live yet again tonight, have yet another one of our great late night conversations. Should be fun. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, and away we go.
Of the American century. I say that the century on which we are entering can be and must be the century of the common man.
A radical redistribution of economic power.
I mean, we know that racism is just a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people.
We need a government that will make sure Americans are taken care of and organize the economy to serve the people, not the profits of a wealthy few.
We now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty.
We got to start getting out there with the people.
Get out of the movement and get to the masses.
We need a government of action.
Welcome, everybody. So glad to be here with all of you tonight. Now, the way this works, the way we do our show generally, is I give my opening remarks, which is generally whatever it is I want to talk about for the evening. I give my opening remarks. While I'm making the opening remarks, I'm taking note of the super chats that are coming in. Questions, comments people have, things they want me to react to. Then after my opening remarks are finished, from there, I do a roll call where we find out who is on the other side of the camera, who's watching. And that's always fun because we have people from all over the country, all over the United States, and all over the world who watch. That's always fun. And then after the opening remarks and after the roll call, then I answer people's super chat questions for the rest of the night. So if you have something you would like me to talk about in the second half of our program, all you need to do is send a super chat. That's the way we do things. So think about what you want me to talk about in the second half of our show. I'll be taking note of the super chats as they come in, and then I'll show each of them on the screen, and I will react to them bit by bit. That's the way we tend to do things here. So that's the way we're going to do it. Just a quick announcement for those of you who may not be aware. I am not only am I a guy on YouTube and an international reporter and all of that, I'm also the leader of the Center for Political Innovation, the CPI. And we are going to be having our National Education Workshop coming up at the end of April. It's going to be really great. And so we would like to have you join us. So if you are able to come to Vermont, please come to our national workshop. It's going to be pretty awesome. We're going to have a lot of activities, a lot of classes on Marxism and anti-imperialism and building our community of solidarity. It's going to be pretty awesome. So that's coming up. If you'd like to come, please register online. You can register on the CPI website. That's the link. I just dropped it in the chat, cpiusa.org, news, out of the movement to the masses. The registration form is right there. We'd love to have you there. It's a 4-day national retreat, April 26th to 29th in Vermont. So we'd love to have you at that. Plus, if you want to donate to help us build our anti-imperialist movement in the United States, you can send a donation. We would love to have more funds to work with to make our work more effective. You can donate directly to the Center for Political Innovation on Stripe by donating at that link below. So those are ways that you can help us out. So yeah, if you're able to join us April 26th through the 29th, going to be awesome. Register and you can send us a donation if you would like. So that's just the announcement I wanted to get out of the way. I am still in Russia, as you are all probably aware, still coming down from the high of the World Youth Festival, which was just utterly amazing. So yeah, just going to do another stream. So again, as I said before, opening remarks, followed by the roll call, followed by me answering your super chat questions. So if there's something you would like me to talk about in the second half of our show, send me a super chat. That's the way we do things. So glad to be here with all of you tonight. So I guess I'll just jump right in to my opening remarks. So I have been here in Russia. I've been at the World Youth Festival, got to talk to the Russian president. And, I've been a little behind on what's been happening back stateside, back in the United States. I'll be back next week, but for now, I'm in Russia. I'll be here until the Russian election is over. But I had a little more downtime this weekend as I'm getting ready to be an election observer here in Russia. And I noticed that the State of the Union by our president, Joe Biden, happened. He gave his State of the Union address. And many people were commenting on the fact that it looked like Joe Biden was pumped up on uppers of some kind. He did a lot of yelling. He looked like he was super caffeinated, strung out on caffeine, because Biden is generally very, very tired. But it looked like in order to give him the energy boost to do the State of the Union, they had to hype him up. But for the most part, other than, Marjorie Taylor Greene shouting at Joe Biden, people aren't really talking about the State of the Union. They've been talking about the rebuttal to the State of the Union from the Republicans. Now, that's generally how it works, right? Every year, the President of the United States gives a joint address to Congress, a State of the Union address, in which the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court are all gathered to listen to the president, and it's supposed to be a report on how the country's going. And then afterwards, there is a short rebuttal statement from the Republicans. And this year, everyone decided that the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union was cringe. It was awful. And they were making fun of it, and they were talking about how awful it is. I actually watched the Saturday Night Live. So I watched Saturday Night Live because Saturday Night Live is a real insight into how kind of the Hillary Clinton elites are thinking, right? It's a very liberal but mainstream liberal show. And I noticed that their reaction to the State of the Union, they spent more time making fun of the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union than they did actually making fun of Joe Biden's State of the Union. I thought that was weird. And so I went to go watch the Republican rebuttal. And instead of finding the Republican rebuttal, when I typed in, Katie Britt, U.S. Senator from Alabama, she gave the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union. When I typed in Katie Britt rebuttal, I got video after video, not actually showing her official rebuttal, but showing people making fun of her rebuttal. And I thought, what in the world is going on here? And it took me, I had to scroll down YouTube pretty far before I actually found her actual speech. But I found video after video doing what Saturday Night Live had done, making fun of Katie Britt's rebuttal. And what I thought was interesting was they weren't making fun really of what she said. It was just childish attacks on the Republican senator from Alabama. Now, I'm not a Republican, and I don't agree with a lot of what she said in her speech, but something was off. I thought, why is it so hard to find the actual rebuttal from the Republican Party? Number one. Number two, why, let me add, why is it so widespread? The memo has been sent out to make fun of this representative of the Republican Party. She's not very old. She's just over 40. She's a Republican in the U.S. Senate, and the memo has been sent out to just mock her, don't pay any attention to her, and the attacks on her were not very political. So before I show you, I'm going to just play her video and react to it, because she's wrong on a lot, and I'm going to debunk what she was wrong about, but there's a couple key areas where she was very, very right, and that's what they're trying to suppress. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you some of the mockery of the Republican rebuttal to the State of the Union and how lacking in substance it is. This is The View, Joy Behar.
The GOP, if you watched the whole thing last night, I was up until after midnight with this one last night.
We were cracking up.
Well, they chose Alabama Senator Katie Britt to deliver the Republican response to Biden's State of the Union, which they always do have somebody on the opposing team, and it was a lot to process. Watch.
Right now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare.
True.
President Biden's border policies are a disgrace. The
What's funny about that?
American people are scraping by.
True.
Well, President Biden proudly proclaims that Bidenomics is working.
True.
Goodness, y'all, bless his heart, we hear you and we stand with you.
Why are they laughing? I mean, there's nothing remotely funny about any of that, right? A lot of people are struggling in the U.S. economy. A lot of working families are having trouble getting by. The American dream has turned into a nightmare for many working class Americans. There's nothing funny about this. I mean, she's expressing the resentment, the anger, the angst that a lot of American working class people are feeling. I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. But yet, there's this tone of, laughter at her saying very true things. That didn't sit right with me. But listen to more of the mockery of it from Joy Behar.
Get some medication.
Get some medication. So first she says, get some medication. Like this woman is mentally ill because she's upset about working families not being able to pay their bills. So she's mentally ill. She's delusional.
Katie, I haven't seen acting that bad since my wedding night.
Well, wait a second. Which is it? Is it that she's mentally ill because she thinks things are bad? Or is that she doesn't think things are bad and she's just a very bad actress? Which one is it, right? Those are two contradictory things. The first thing she said is get some medication. So there's no reason to be upset, right? I mean, the fact that, the suicide rate is through the roof in the United States, get some medication. Don't worry about that. That's nothing to be upset about. Stop being so angsty, right? The fact that Americans are dying of opioids at record rates, don't be upset about that. The fact that people are struggling to pay their bills, the fact that retired people are having to work at gas stations just to pay for their medication after having worked hard their whole lives, as she talked about in her speech. No, if you're upset about that, you're just a mentally ill, crazy person, right? But then after that, she says, I've never seen acting that bad. So she's not mentally ill. She's just pretending to be upset. Like, it's not even a consistent criticism.
So which genius in that party decided that she was the perfect spokesperson? I've never seen mood swings like this.
But I thought you said she was an actress. She's having mood swings. So is she faking it, or does she genuinely feel this way? Right? And what they're doing here, this is an evil thing that they figured out with social media. You could put anything on, right? You could put Abraham Lincoln reading the Gettysburg Address, and then you pause it, and then you have a whole bunch of people go, that's stupid. Look at the look on their face. And people go along with it. This is a form of psychological manipulation, right? They want you, if you hear anyone complaining about the economic situation in the United States and how all throughout our heartland in the United States, there are boarded up, foreclosed homes, how instead of having homes to live in, American families are now renting their homes from banks. The American dream has been foreclosed. They have a much higher rate of home ownership in China and in Cuba and in Brazil than they do in the United States. I mean, American people can't own their own. I mean, if you hear anyone complaining about economic injustice, laugh at them, right? And this is a manipulative psychological trick. Everything she said about people struggling to get by, everything she said about how the American dream is turning into a nightmare and how parents can't figure out how to make sure their kids have health care and all of these are real things that American working families are struggling with, right? I mean, talk to anybody who's living in her home state of Alabama or living in Missouri or living in Kansas or living in Oklahoma. I mean, the heartland of America is down for the count and financially bleeding. But apparently, if anyone complains about it and anyone gets upset about what the working class has been subjected to, you're supposed to laugh at them. You're supposed to laugh at them. Well, I'm not laughing at them. I take it very seriously. I take the emerging low-wage police state very, very seriously. But this is the psychological manipulation, right? And this is what BreadTube has been doing the whole time. It's not an argument. None of what they're saying. And you just watch.
Then she's like going to take a knife and stab you.
No, she's not. She's just upset. She's upset about living conditions. Like, I mean, she's not stabbing anybody.
Then she's laughing like an idiot. I mean, what's wrong with her? She's like Sybil.
A disaster from start to finish. And actually, Katie Britt is somebody who's a serious person with policy chops. Democratic senators will tell you they respect her. But it's Women's History Month. It's International Women's Day. And we put the senator in the kitchen. Like,
yeah, because she's trying to look like a normal person. Normal people have kitchens. Like, you know, it's not feminist because women aren't allowed to be in kitchens now. If you have a video and a woman is in a kitchen, you are an evil, rotten sexist. This is just stupid. These are not real criticisms. This is all just fluff to prevent you from listening to what she actually said, not all of which was good. She said a lot of things I don't agree with, and we're going to go through her actual speech. But listen to how non-substantive the criticisms of Katie Britt here are. I mean, these are, I have not heard one legit criticism. She's in a kitchen. God forbid she's in a kitchen. Most homes in this country have kitchens in them. You know, that's not a legit criticism. She was angry about economic conditions. She laughed. I mean, she had different moods. That's how you're entertaining as a speaker. Was she supposed to just get up there and go, I am reading a speech from a teleprompter and it is really going? No, it was entertainment. Come on. This is getting stupid. But anyway, we continue.
moms, they don't turn in front of a podium. I mean, I was hearing from Republican women everywhere, like, why did they choose us? Why did she not say, put me anywhere else?
What is she auditioning for, though? Because I don't think she's going to get a call back.
And I think
Wait, so is she crazy or is she just acting? Which one is it? It can't be both, right? If you're going to call her crazy, say that she's legitimately crazy. If you're going to call her acting and faking it, then she's faking it. But she can't be both. Make up your mind. Is she crazy or is she faking it? And it's like they're double barreling it. Some people are going to watch this and think, oh, she's overly emotional. She's crazy. And some people are going to watch it and say, oh, she's not sincere. So they want both. They want to double barrel the criticism. It can't be true. And yes, they're laughing at us, right? If you're having trouble paying your bills, they're laughing at you. I mean, you do realize they're laughing at someone talking about what working families are going through. They're laughing at all of us. This is something to get mad about. But anyway, let's continue with this. And then we're going to watch the actual speech because not everything she said was good, but we'll get to that. Sorry.
happens at the dinner table, but instead it gave like creepy Lifetime
But she
movies.
needs, the girl needs mood elevators.
Yeah, but then she started talking
I thought she was acting.
about, like, and I speak to parents, I speak to moms, and she talks about her kitchen table. There are more than 4 or 5 references. And what I thought is, don't lie to a fellow mom. Who can come home with young children or children at all and sit at that damn table? That has not happened since the 1950s.
That's right. No one eats dinner together with their family anymore. Yeah, they do. People eat with their kids. People eat with their family. Like, what is this? It's like.
And by the way, I don't think about whether I'll have dinner prepared. Max doesn't remember the last time I had dinner prepared. We barely get the kids fed. We don't eat dinner.
Let me tell you,
her descriptor was also hearkening another time that I'd rather not go back to.
You'd rather not go back to the time where families ate dinner together? You're hearkening back to a time we'd rather not go back to? Like, did she do something wrong by referencing families eating dinner together? This is weird. They have not said one substantive thing wrong with her. They've said that she's crazy. She's not crazy. She's mad about economic conditions. They've said that she's faking it. Well, then she can't be crazy if she's faking it, if she genuinely feels this way. You know, and now we're supposed to be mad because she was in a kitchen, and we're supposed to be mad because she referenced families eating dinner together. They have not said one substantial thing wrong with what this woman said in her speech.
I don't even know how you were able to notice she was in a kitchen, because I was so incredibly distracted by what I was watching, right? And I mean, the only thing that worried me about her being in a kitchen is that she had knives so close by.
She's going to kill us all. She's a psycho for being mad about economic conditions.
I thought she could go Chucky on me at any time.
I didn't think that. I thought that she's just concerned about the fact that the American dream is dying and working families are struggling to pay their bills. I didn't think she was going to kill anybody.
You know, when she started, it was giving me like Real Housewives confessional vibe.
It was very sad.
And then it went from Real Housewives confessional having a breakdown to Sybil, the movie from '76 about a lady with multiple personality disorder. And I'm thinking to myself, this lady shouldn't be in a kitchen. She should be in a padded room.
Why?
Go ahead.
Let me just say this.
Hit it.
You know, it was giving like she wanted to call the manager on America. You know what I mean?
Karen.
It was giving that to.
Oh, see, if someone is white, they're not allowed to be mad about anything. If a woman is white, they're not allowed to be mad about anything. Because she's upset about people not being able to pay their bills and a lack of economic opportunity and inflation, she's being a racist white Karen. Did you hear this? You're not allowed to be upset about economic conditions in the United States anymore, because if you do, that makes you a racist white Karen. You're a racist white Karen. I mean, this is ridiculous.
For me,
can't say Karen, why not?
yeah, no, you can't say that.
Why not?
So it was giving me fragility. It was giving me those tears.
Fragility? Fragility? Seriously? So this is white fragility to talk about economic conditions in American working families, right? That's white fragility. This is
That are often weaponized. It was giving me what the young people are calling the trad wife or the trad woman, the traditional.
She's a senator. She's not a trad wife. She's not a stay-at-home mom. She's a U.S. senator. How does she give you trad wife vibes? She's a U.S. senator. She is literally a U.S. senator. She has been elected to the U.S. Senate. She's not a trad wife.
A woman from the 40s or the 50s.
They didn't let women become U.S. senators in the 40s or the 50s, my friend.
That was the homemaker. And I think a man made that decision. I think a Republican man realized, you know what? The whole DeSantis, like, angry man thing didn't work.
Yeah, Sonny, but she's a damn senator. You know, she's a woman and she's a senator. She could have said
But do you know what a male senator would give the response?
Who's from the South here? Isn't he Southerners?
Anyway, I just wanted you to see that. All the attacks on her are completely substanceless, right? They're not saying anything. It's just, how dare this woman talk about stuff? How dare she be in a kitchen? She looked stupid. And they're trying to program you to respond to any economic populism or any critique of living standards dropping in the United States, any anger about economic conditions with laughter, like, oh. So we're going to watch the speech. It's only 17 minutes long, not a big, long speech. And she said a lot of things I don't agree with. The majority of the speech I didn't agree with, but there were a couple of really good points that I do agree with. And I agree with the tone of the speech. I don't agree with probably the majority of the points that she made, but the tone of the speech and the overall message of the speech, I agree with. So let's just watch this speech that YouTube has decided you're not allowed to like, that we're just supposed to laugh at. Right? Let's watch the speech that you're not supposed to listen to. You're not supposed to take seriously, that social media and YouTube and mainstream media have all decided you're not allowed to like. You are not allowed to like this speech. You're not allowed to listen to any of the actual points she made. This speech is a speech that you are not allowed to listen to. This is a canceled speech. You know, it's a canceled speech. If you like this speech, you're a bad person. Vosh will cancel you. BreadTube will cancel you if you like this speech. Let's watch this speech you're not allowed to like. Let's watch it.
Good morning, America. My name is Britt, and I have the honor of serving the people of the great state of Alabama in the United States Senate. However, that's not the job that matters most. I am a proud wife and mom of 2 school-aged kids. My daughter Bennett and my son Ridgway are why I ran for the Senate. I'm worried about their future and the future of children in every corner of our nation.
Isn't everybody worried about the future? I mean, this seems pretty universal. Living standards in the US are dropping. The highways and bridges are falling apart. Student debt is through the roof. Opioids, suicide. Things in the United States ain't going that well. If I had kids, I would be pretty worried. Nothing cringe about being worried about the future of the country for your children.
And that's why I invited you into our home tonight. Like so many families across America, my husband Wesley and I just watched President Biden's State of the Union address from our living room. And what we saw was the performance of a permanent politician who has actually been in office for longer than I've been alive.
Yep, Joe Biden is the definition of a corrupt political machine politician from a political family, been in office since he was a young man. He was the crime bill. He was every nasty thing the Democrats did. I mean, Joe Biden is a machine, run-of-the-mill, mainstream political politician figure. He is the incarnation of the American establishment. Again, nothing so far that I think is worth laughing at. Nothing so far that's cringe. We'll keep going.
One thing was quite clear, though. President Biden just doesn't get it. He's out of touch. Under his administration, families are worse off. Our communities are less safe.
True and true.
And our country is less secure. I just wish he understood what real families are facing around kitchen tables just like this one.
Yeah, this is all legit. Why would you laugh at someone who's pointing this out, right? When we've got working families struggling, when people are worried about how to feed their kids, worried about how to pay for gas to get their kids to school, and we're supposed to laugh at this. This is all, I agree with everything she said so far. There's going to be some stuff I don't agree with later. We'll talk about that when we get to it. Why in the world would you laugh at this?
You know, this is where our family has tough conversations. It's where we make hard decisions. It's where we share the good, the bad, and the ugly of our days. It's where we laugh together, and it's where we hold each other's hands and pray for God's guidance. And many nights, to be honest.
Wow, families supporting each other and working together to try and solve their problems amid hard economic times as the country is struggling, has never really recovered from the pandemic. The good paying jobs aren't there. I mean, this is all good. There's nothing laughable about this. There's nothing cringe about this. What kind of sick fucks want us to laugh at this, right? If you think about what working people are going through in your neighborhood, in your community, the kind of things that people are dealing with their kids and with their families, the fears that parents have, what in the world is laughable about this? This is all totally justified.
It's where Wesley and I worry. I know we're not alone. And so tonight, the American family needs to have a tough conversation.
She's worried about the future for her kids. Oh my God, that's cringe. Oh, what a weirdo. Oh, I mean, these are evil people. This is a great speech so far, right? This is great. They want you to laugh at this. They want you to hate this. They want you to make fun of people who talk this way. They want you to laugh at working parents that are worried about feeding their kids. They want you to laugh at people that are struggling. This is evil. This is so far. We're how far in? We're about 2 minutes in, and it's great so far. Now we got another 15 minutes to go.
Because the truth is, we're all worried about the future of our nation.
How dare she be worried about the future of our nation? Oh my God, that's I mean, these are evil motherfuckers. Liberals are the most classist, upper middle class. They are all getting their fancy salaries, upper middle class, urban professionals, and they're laughing at working people that are struggling to get by and worrying about their kids and worrying about their future. Nothing funny about this.
The country we know and love seems to be slipping away, and it feels like the next generation will have fewer opportunities and less freedoms than we did.
Very true. The United States is transforming into a low-wage police state. And that is something that anyone who's got children or anyone who's responsible for a family is going to be worried about.
I worry my own children may not even get a shot at living their American dreams. My American dream allowed me, the daughter of 2 small business owners from rural Enterprise, Alabama, to be elected to the United States Senate at the age of 40. Growing up, sweeping the floor at my dad's hardware store and cleaning the bathroom at my mom's dance studio, I never could have imagined what my story would entail. To think about what the American dream can do across just one generation, in just one lifetime, it's truly breathtaking.
This is what America used to be famous for, right? That we were a country of hard work and innovation, people working hard to achieve their dreams. That's what America used to be known for, right? We were the country of motor-mindedness, of people that came from all across the planet to work hard and achieve their dreams. You know, what she's tapping into, that is the American spirit. It's the American spirit. And that's what Joe Biden, and that's what the low-wage police state and the World Economic Forum and the ultra monopolies and the ultra rich are trying to destroy right now. And she's bemoaning the fact that we've become a country of hopelessness and pessimism and a country where things are getting worse and conditions are deteriorating. Everything she's saying here is completely legitimate, right? The American dream has been stolen from us. What we've been raised with our whole life, that go get 'em, hard work, achieve your dreams spirit is being robbed from us. And that's a legitimate thing to be concerned about. I think she's absolutely right in what she's saying.
Right now, the American dream has turned into a nightmare for so many families.
True.
The true, unvarnished state of our union begins and ends with this. Our families are hurting.
True. Why in the world would you make fun of somebody? There are so many people struggling in the United States right now, and we're supposed to make fun of this. Oh, families are hurting.
Our country can do better.
Amen.
And you don't have to look any further than the crisis at our southern border
Here we
to
go.
see it.
Oh, boy.
President Biden inherited the most secure border of all time.
Is that really true?
But minutes after taking office, he suspended all deportations, he halted construction of the border wall, and he announced a plan to give amnesty to millions. We know that President Biden didn't just create this border crisis, he invited it with 94 executive actions in his first 100 days.
Look, this is where, again, a lot she says here I don't agree with. And look, there is a big problem at the border. The fact that people are jumping over the border constantly, the fact that there are dead bodies found along the border, this is a bad situation. However, the Republican solution is not really an answer, right? You're not going to solve this border crisis by building a big fence. You're not going to solve this border crisis by having ICE raids in immigrant communities, by, having kids come home from school and their parents not be there because they got deported. Look, obviously, there is a big problem with so many people on our southern border piling into the United States. That's a problem. The solution is economic development, right? We need the United States to team up with China and Nicaragua, and we need economic development in Central America and in Mexico to provide economic opportunity. And we need to fight the drug cartels, right? We need to stand with the Nicaraguan government and El Salvador, the great president they've got down there in El Salvador, who's just doing a great job, Bukele, right? And we need to smash those drug cartels that are propped up by the CIA, that all have US-backed guns. And we need to build high-speed railway, and we need to create economic opportunity. And the Republican solution to the border crisis, which is terrorize immigrant communities, make people in immigrant communities afraid to call the police, separate families, that's not going to make anything better. So I don't agree with her here, right? And, but she's pointing to a real problem. These cartels are nasty motherfuckers. They're not good. They're not good folks, these cartels. One fair point that can't be avoided. Number one. Number two, in addition to that, The situation is getting worse. And the way liberals just kind of brush it aside, and they say, oh, this is the American dream. It's so great. All these people are coming. No, it's not a great situation. It's actually a very, very bad situation on the border. It's bad that people can't stay in their home country. It's bad that a lot of people in Guatemala and Honduras don't have running water, don't have electricity, don't even speak Spanish. They still speak indigenous languages. They don't have literacy, right? It's bad that drug cartels armed with U.S. weapons are terrorizing communities and separating people. The whole situation is very bad. And she's right that it's all very bad, but you're not going to solve it, by just building a wall or enhancing, heavy-handed repression. That's not the solution. So she's right about the problem, but, her solution is build a big giant wall. And this is where I don't agree with her. And there's a lot of things she's going to say that I don't agree with, but we'll continue.
When I took office, I took a different approach. I traveled to the Del Rio sector of Texas. That's where I spoke to a woman who shared her story with me. She had been sex trafficked by the cartels starting at the age of 12. She told me not just that she was raped every day, but how many times a day she was raped. The cartels put her on a mattress in a shoebox of a room, and they sent men through that door over and over again for hours and hours on end. We wouldn't be okay with this happening in a third world country. This is the United States of America, and it is past time, in my opinion, that we start acting like it.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's so funny. Joey Behar and The View think this is hilarious. This is a laughing matter. She's right. Everything she's saying about these cartels are vicious. Now, these cartels, where did they come from? We know the cartels came from the fact that in the 1980s, the U.S. government wanted to overthrow the Sandinistas, the Marxists in Nicaragua, so it armed the drug cartels. We also know that in Colombia, the USA wanted to fight against the FARC, and so they armed the drug cartels. We also know that the USA has been piling huge amounts of weapons into the hands of the Mexican police, which are heavily infiltrated by the drug cartels, and they give the weapons over to the drug cartels. And, this is a result of U.S. foreign policy, right? The crisis on the border, the drug gangs and all of that, they were essentially fomented by the United States to fight against communism. And even now in Nicaragua, right, when people are going out and rioting against Daniel Ortega and against the Sandinistas, they tend to be, people from the drug cartels that the USA is backing and arming against socialism and against, revolutionary anti-imperialist governments. So this is a result of U.S. foreign policy. But it's not funny, right? It's a very serious issue. And I mean, what she's saying absolutely is true. They do brutalize and rape women in horrific, horrific ways. And it's not funny. And the fact that you're supposed to laugh at someone who's talking about this very, very serious issue of human trafficking, it's a very serious issue. These drug cartels are a big problem. And instead of fighting Bukele, and instead of fighting Daniel Ortega, and instead of demonizing the president of Mexico, AMLO, and calling him a Marxist dictator, the USA should team up with Nicaragua, team up with Bukele and El Salvador, team up with AMLO, and smash these organizations that are armed by the CIA, that are armed by the American government, right? I mean, she's talking about a very serious issue, and it's not funny. So, I mean, again, her answer, which is just build a giant wall, I don't agree with. But she's talking about a very serious issue. And the fact that they want to train you, it's like a laugh track on a sitcom. They let you know when to laugh by putting the laugh track on, right? They say the line and then it's like, well, Jane, I think I saw you in the shower. And they tell you when to laugh. They want you to laugh at this? Nothing to laugh at here. Very serious issue. Not funny. Very serious issue. So let's continue.
President Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable. From fentanyl poisonings to horrific murders, there are empty chairs tonight at kitchen tables just like this one.
Yeah, fentanyl, opioids, right? We know that big pharma companies were pushing doctors to overprescribe opioid medications. The death toll has been massive. Opioids destroyed my hometown. I mean, many people I went to school with have died from opioids or developed a problem with opioids. Heroin, opioids. I mean, it's destroyed so many working people's lives. Not a laughing matter, very serious issue.
Because of President Biden's senseless border policies. Just think about Laken Riley. In my neighboring state of Georgia, this beautiful 22-year-old nursing student went out on a jog one morning, but she never got the opportunity to return home. She was brutally murdered by one of the millions of illegal border crossers President Biden chose to release into our homeland. Y'all, as a mom, I can't quit thinking about this. I mean, this could have been my daughter. This could have been yours. And tonight, President Biden finally said her name. But he refused to take responsibility for his own actions. Mr. President, enough is enough. Innocent Americans are dying, and you only have yourself to blame.
These are very serious issues. I don't agree with her solution, but these are very serious problems, and there's nothing wrong with getting upset about them. I would be upset if it was members of my family that had died from opioids. I would be upset if it was, people I knew that were killed by the cartels. Like, why are they mocking her for talking about these very, very serious issues?
Fulfill your oath of office. Reverse your policies. End this crisis and stop the suffering. Sadly, we know that President Biden's failures don't stop there. His reckless spending dug our economy into a hole and sent the cost of living through the roof. We have the worst inflation in 40 years and the highest credit card debt in our nation's history.
That's right. We are a nation in debt. Our economy has been handed over to the big banks. When you pay your taxes, you're not actually paying for schools and jobs and healthcare or even the military. You're paying back banks that they've borrowed from, right, that are using the government as a way to make money. We have been completely ripped off. We need to have a debt jubilee in the United States. They need to just cancel the debt. We need a national bank. We need to put banking under public control and use strategic credit in order to stimulate the economy, right? We need to stand up to the big banks. We need to make sure that working families are not being squeezed by inflation. We need to have central control of credit. We need to cancel student debt. We need to have a debt jubilee as a country. Absolutely. And the big banks have been ripping off this country and have been making us poorer and poorer and poorer. This is all very, very true. All very, very true.
Again, hardworking families are struggling to make ends meet today. And with soaring mortgage rates and sky-high childcare costs, they're also struggling to how to plan for tomorrow. The American people are scraping by while President Biden proudly proclaims that Bidenomics is working. Goodness, y'all, bless his heart. We know better.
Yeah, this is all true. She's just describing the economic conditions in our country that people in red states are facing, right? Things might be pretty prosperous in New York. I mean, they're not, a lot of closed down businesses. The city's never recovered from the pandemic. Things might be good in Los Angeles, except there's a huge homeless problem. But things are really bad where she's from in Alabama. Things are really bad in Oregon. I was just up there. I mean, the homelessness and all of that. I mean, America is struggling. The big banks own our political system. People are struggling. I mean, why are we laughing at this, right? Why is the middle class, snobby, rich kid, popular kid, middle class Democratic Party laughing at people that are struggling? Why are they laughing at American working families? Why are they laughing at people bemoaning the death of the American dream? She's talking about real economic conditions. This reminds me of, years ago, back in the 1960s, there was a big problem with rat infestation in public housing. And it was a big problem that, it was a big scandal that on the floor of the US Congress, there were all kinds of congressmen making really nasty racist jokes about, rats in public housing and all kinds of stuff, laughing at the conditions that low-income people face. This is the exact same thing. She's talking about real conditions that are affecting real working families, and we're supposed to laugh at her for it. We're supposed to laugh at her for it, and we're supposed to call her a Karen because she's bemoaning what is happening to real communities, real jobs, etc. Right? This is, again, she says a lot of things I don't agree with, but the tone of what she's saying, I do agree with. That the American dream has been canceled, that American working families are struggling. All of this is true, and it's not funny, and there's no reason we should be making fun of people who talk this way. Right? This is the height of classist arrogance, right? You're not supposed to care about any economic injustice. We're just supposed to talk about how everyone in America who's white has it too good and deserves to be poorer because they're a privileged white whatever, right? Well, there's Black people that are struggling in Alabama. There's Arab Americans that are struggling. There's Asian Americans who are struggling. The whole country is struggling. This isn't about race. It's about class. It's about how working people have been screwed. The American dream has been stolen from us. Our government is run by big banks, and I want to talk about it. And I don't think people should be laughed at and made fun of for describing what's really facing working families. And it doesn't make you a racist, and it doesn't make you a white supremacist to acknowledge that working people of all races and all ethnic backgrounds are struggling right now. Parents are worried about feeding their kids. There's nothing wrong with the tone of her speech. Her policy solutions aren't great, okay? Her policy solutions are not great, and you're going to hear some foreign policy stuff she's about to say that's pretty awful. But the idea that describing economic hardship is cringe, fuck that.
I'll never forget stopping at a gas station in Chilton County one evening. The gentleman working the counter told me that after retiring, he had to pick up a job in his 70s so that he didn't have to choose between going hungry or going without his medication. He said, I did everything right. I did everything I was told to do. I worked hard, I saved, I was responsible. He's not alone. I hear similar concerns from fellow parents, whether I am walking with my friends or whether I'm at my kids' games. But let's be honest, it's been a minute since Joe Biden pumped gas, ran a carpool, or even pushed a grocery cart. Meanwhile, the rest of us see our dollar and we know it doesn't go as far. We see it every day. And despite what he tells you, our communities are not safer.
Again, this is all true. This is all true. The rosy picture of Bidenomics working is false. She's right. Biden's wrong. The tone of what she's saying, I agree with. Her solutions, not so much. But we'll
For
continue.
years, the left has coddled criminals and defunded the police.
See, she's
all
wrong
while
here.
letting repeat offenders walk free. The result is tragic, but foreseeable. From our small towns to America's most iconic city streets, life is getting more and more dangerous.
Yeah, see, she's doing a pro mass incarceration, pro police thing. I'm not feeling it, not feeling it, not feeling it. I agree with the tone, but kind of like what she said about the border before, you're not going to solve the border crisis by, building a big giant wall or raiding immigrant families' homes. And you're not going to, the idea that you're going to solve the economic, the crime and all of that by just, letting the police terrorize people. And, come on now. Right. Again, she's still a Republican. Right. And the Republican Party has serious problems. Right. Conservatism in America. Let's just be honest for a minute. Right. Conservatism in America has deteriorated into just the worship of capitalism. Right. And all these problems she's describing, I got to be honest with you, the neoliberal free market libertarian policies lowering taxes and privatizing public services. I mean, the Republican Party has not been a friend of working families, has not been expanding access to healthcare and education. She's describing real conditions. She's describing real problems. And that's where I'm with her. But let's be honest, right? The solution is not a bigger police state, right? Whether that's a bigger police state on the border or a bigger police state in our communities. You are not going to solve these problems unless you address the underlying issue of economic injustice, right? And you're not going to solve these issues by just saying, oh, white people deserve it, or you're going to have to address economic concerns, right? That's the issue, right? So, you're not going to solve this with identity politics as the Democrats want. You're not going to solve it with police state repression, which is a lot of what she's calling for here. And I'm just not feeling it on that. She's wrong on that, but we'll continue.
And unfortunately, President Biden's weakness isn't just hurting families here at home. He is making us a punchline on the world stage. Look, where I'm from, your word is your bond. But for 3 years, the president has demonstrated that America's word doesn't mean what it used to.
Well, yeah, we signed a nuclear deal with Iran and then ripped it up and then murdered, their top general. Yeah. I mean, the USA, tried to normalize relations with Cuba and then went back on it. I mean, yes, you're right about how the USA doesn't keep its word and people don't want to negotiate with the United States or do deals with the United States. But the way she frames this, I mean, this part about foreign policy, it's very hard. I mean, I'm not a Republican, right? I agree with the tone. I don't like the way they're attacking her, but some of the stuff she's saying here, I mean, this again, I don't agree with the majority of the things she says in this speech, but she's right on a few very important points. Let's continue.
From abandoning our allies in his disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan to desperately pushing another dangerous deal.
Afghanistan is more stable today than it ever was under U.S. occupation. I mean, that's just a fact, right? I mean, the withdrawal from Afghanistan was very chaotic, but it was very much a handoff, and now the Taliban has done more to stabilize Afghanistan in the last couple of years than the U.S. did in 20 years of occupying the place. So, what she's saying, we should still be occupying it. We should still have troops in Afghanistan protecting the poppy fields. Not feeling it.
With Iran. To desperately pushing another dangerous deal with Iran.
How is it dangerous? Iran gave up almost all of their peaceful nuclear energy program, and then the USA put on more sanctions and murdered their top general. I mean, there was nothing dangerous about the Iran nuclear deal. It was dangerous for Iran. It hurt Iran, but it never endangered the United States. Nothing dangerous about the Iran nuclear deal.
President Biden has failed. We've become a nation in retreat. And the enemies of freedom, they see an opportunity. Putin's brutal aggression in Europe has put our allies on the brink.
Oh, give me a break. You sound like a Democrat. You sound like Rachel Maddow. Give me a break. It was the U.S. aggression. The USA toppled the Ukrainian government. The USA forced the Ukrainian government not to cooperate and implement the Minsk agreement. The USA armed the Ukrainian government to bomb the shit out of Donetsk and Lugansk and kill all kinds of innocent people. And Russia finally, after 8 years, moved in to protect the people. You don't know what you're talking about, right? She sounds just like the Democrats on this point. This is just, standard neocon bullshit, right? Russia is not being aggressive in Ukraine. Russia held off for quite some time. They did everything they could to avoid the special military operation. They moved in because they ultimately had no choice. I mean, the foreign policy stuff.
Iran's terrorist proxies have slaughtered Israeli, Jews, and American citizens.
False. Hamas, first of all, let's take this apart bit by bit. Hamas is not a proxy of Iran. Iran are Shia Muslims, and Hamas are Sunnis. They're from the Muslim Brotherhood. They were on the opposite side of Iran in Syria. They were on the opposite side of Iran in many different conflicts. Hamas, it's Palestinian, and there is aid to the Palestinians from Iran, but they're not a proxy. There's differences there, right? There's groups like the Islamic Jihad in Palestine that are more sympathetic to Iran, but Hamas is not a proxy of Iran. Meanwhile, you do realize that Israel has been bombing the shit out of the Palestinians, has killed at least 30,000 people at this point. And the only people doing anything about it are the Houthis that are trying to block ships to get the bombing and murder of the Palestinians to stop. This is the foreign policy stuff is the worst part of this speech, in my opinion.
They've targeted commercial shipping.
No, Israel has targeted and killed thousands and thousands of Palestinians. Over 1,000 Palestinian children have had amputations without anesthesia because of what Israel is doing. 30,000 people are dead. And so the Houthis are blocking ships to try and make it stop. And then Biden responded by bombing and killing people in Yemen. So this is, just let this foreign policy part be over. She's so wrong here.
And they've attacked our troops nearly 200 times since October.
No, the USA has attacked them. The USA bombed Yemen. The USA and Israel have bombed Lebanon. They have bombed Syria. A number of top Iranian generals have been assassinated, and only 2 U.S. soldiers have ultimately been killed, and they were killed accidentally. Iran was trying not to. I mean, this is just bullshit. This is neocon bullshit, this part of the speech.
Killing 3 U.S. soldiers and 2 Navy SEALs.
Yeah, and the USA has killed, at this point, 30,000 Palestinians by enabling Israel to do it. The USA has enabled Israel to murder a number of Iranian military people that are in Syria, a number of high-ranking people in Lebanon. I mean, this is just, and yeah, two U.S. soldiers have been killed. This is she's not giving an accurate interpretation of events.
Meanwhile, the Chinese Communist Party is undercutting America's workers.
Oh boy.
China is buying up our farmland.
No, it's not.
Spying on our military installations and spreading propaganda through the likes of TikTok.
No, it's not. TikTok has nothing to do with China. Oh, God.
You see, the CCP knows that if it conquers the minds of our next generation, it conquers America.
No, that's what the American tech monopolies are doing with Facebook, with Twitter, with Instagram. TikTok has nothing to do with the government on the Chinese mainland. This is just stupid. This is just stupid. These are widely debunked things they just keep repeating. TikTok is not Chinese propaganda. It's just one social media outlet that isn't completely controlled by the CIA. That's all it is. It's just a more independent social media outlet, and they can't stand that. No. They want, the FBI is rigging Twitter, right? The FBI is rigging Facebook, but TikTok they can't control. I mean, this is bullshit. I'm sorry. This part of the speech is just complete bullshit.
And what does President Biden do? Well, he bans TikTok for government employees, but creates an account for his own campaign.
Well, maybe that's because TikTok is widely used and he wants people who use TikTok to vote for him. I mean, this is just this is dumb. This is very, very dumb. There's plenty of conservatives on TikTok. There's plenty of Republicans on TikTok. There's plenty of anti-communists on TikTok. China doesn't control TikTok. This is dumb.
Y'all, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, you can. I mean, this is not unbelievable at all. I mean, it's just TikTok is a social media outlet. It's the one social media outlet that isn't controlled by the CIA. It's the one widely used social media outlet that isn't controlled by the FBI, and it isn't under the control of American imperialism. This is just dumb, right? And again, I told you the bulk of what she says in this speech, I don't agree with.
Look, we all recall when presidents faced national security threats with strength and resolve. That seems like ancient history. Right now, our commander-in-chief is not in command. The free world.
That's true, right? It's pretty clear Biden ain't running the show. Somebody else is. Biden ain't all there. There's not much going on upstairs. We know that. Somebody else is making the decision, somebody we never got to vote for. She's not wrong about that.
Deserves better than a dithering and diminished leader.
Again, I agree, right? Oh, but Caleb, you want a strong leader. That means you're a Nazi. That means you're a fascist. Oh, you want strong leaders in America. We should have weak, pathetic leaders who just let Wall Street run the country. No, I do want strong leadership. I'd like us to have another Lincoln. I'd like us to have another Roosevelt. I'd like us to have an American Hugo Chavez or an American Putin. I'd like us to have a strong leader who takes control of the economy and forces economic conditions to get better and serves the American people and doesn't hand over our government to big banks and corporations. Call me a Nazi, call me a fascist for wanting a government of action that fights for working families. This is what people want. She's describing throughout this speech, what has she done? One, she's described the harsh economic conditions people are facing. Good. Two, now she's calling for strong leadership to improve their lives. I agree with that. Nothing wrong with that. The foreign policy stuff, the border stuff, the police state stuff, a lot of the points she's making are wrong. But what she's appealing to, people's desire to have a government that fights for them and cares about them, a strong government of action to fight for working families, that's very good. And there's nothing, and that's what they want you to laugh at. They don't mind her talking shit on TikTok. They don't mind her talking about Iran and all of that. They're mad that she's appealing to Americans who are suffering economically, and she's calling for a government of strength. That's what triggers them. They can't stand that because they don't believe in class struggle. They don't believe in economic justice. They certainly don't believe in anti-imperialism. She's not an anti-imperialist, but she's appealing to what it is that gets people to be sympathetic to anti-imperialist leaders and anti-imperialist movements. And that's what scares them about this speech. And that's why they're widely mocking it. But let's continue.
America deserves leaders who recognize that secure borders, stable prices, safe streets, and a strong defense are actually the cornerstones of a great nation. Just ask yourself, are you better off now than you were 3 years ago?
Yeah, think about it. All right, Biden is overseeing the degrowth of the American economy. Wages are dropping, living conditions are getting worse. The country's turning into a low-wage police state, and people are mad about it. Now, she's offering very bad solutions, but she's appealing to people's desire for strong leadership, and she's bemoaning the economic hardship that people are facing.
There's no doubt we're at a crossroads, and it doesn't have to be this way. We all feel it. But here's the good news. We, the people, are still in the driver's seat. We get to decide whether our future will grow brighter or whether we'll settle for an America in decline. Well, I know which choice our children deserve. And I know the choice the Republican Party is fighting for. We are the party of hard-working parents and families. And we want to give you and your children the opportunities to thrive. And we want families to grow. It's why...
She wants families to grow. She doesn't think overpopulation is the problem. She's straying from that Michael Moore Planet of the Human script. She doesn't think human beings are a cancer on Mother Earth. She doesn't say we urgently have to reduce consumption and drink our own piss and live in a pod and eat bugs. She says families should grow. Ding, 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 ding. She's in the same category as China that's been growing its people up since 1949. She's in the same category as Russia, where the Russian economy has been independent and under the control of Gazprom and Rosneft and building itself up. She's in the same category as the Islamic Republic of Iran. She believes in growth. She doesn't believe in degrowth like the World Economic Forum. Ding, 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 ding. This is why you're supposed to hate the speech, folks. This is why they're telling you to laugh at this. She's talking about the degrowth post-industrial poverty economy that Joe Biden has been creating and the low-wage police state he's been fomenting. She's appealing to strong leadership, and she says we need more families. We need families to grow in the United States. I'm telling you, she's right on some pretty key issues here amid all the bad and wrong things she says.
Strongly support continued nationwide access to in vitro fertilization. We want
in vitro fertilization, have more children, not abortions, to have less people like the Rockefellers and Planned Parenthood, not degrowth, more people, not antinatalism. She wants to increase the population.
to help loving moms and dads bring precious life into this world. Wesley and I believe there is no greater blessing in life than our children. And that's why tonight I want to make a direct appeal to the parents out there, and in particular to my fellow moms, many of whom I know will be up tossing and turning at 2 a.m., wondering how you're going to be in 3 places at once and then somehow still get dinner on the table. First of all, we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. I know.
Wow. I mean, look, right now there's a fight going on. And the fight isn't about whether or not you're a communist. And the fight isn't about, whether or not the fight is about this. There are farmers in Europe that are protesting because they want to produce more food. And the degrowth, NATO, Atlanticist, Eastern establishment, World Economic Forum government is saying you have to produce less food. Right now, there's a fight going on in the United States because Joe Biden is trying to impose a degrowth economy and impoverish people. He wants you to own nothing and be happy about it. He wants you to be poorer and poorer and poorer to save Mother Earth. He thinks you're a cancer on the planet. And there's lower levels of capital that want economic growth. The fight right now is between the death cult, the Malthusian liberal death cult that says smaller is better, impoverishment, low-wage police state, grinding the world into poverty, trying to save the capitalist economy amid a crisis of overproduction with degrowth, and the forces around the world that believe in economic expansion and growth, right? That's the fight that's going on. Do you want more people or less people? Do you want more wealth and abundance, or do you want less? That's the fight that's going on. And I want more wealth, and I want more human beings, and I want more prosperity. And I realize that in order to do that, we need to get beyond the capitalist system. We need a rationally planned economy where the banks and the factories and the industries are organized to serve public good and not profits. And it's because they have a planned economy that China has been able to soar. It's because they re-implemented state control of oil and gas that Russia was able to recover and rebuild itself from the fall of the Soviet Union. It's because they had a centrally planned economy with public control of oil that Libya was able to lift itself up and have the highest life expectancy on the African continent under the leadership of Gaddafi, right? Growth is good. And the problem with growth is that the capitalist system doesn't have a place for us anymore. With artificial intelligence and the advancement of technology, they've eliminated the role of the worker at the assembly line. In a rational society, self-driving cars would be a great thing. But under capitalism, it would lead to riots in the streets and mass unemployment. Self-driving cars is hanging over our economy like a curse. This isn't rational. Growth is good. Economic expansion is good. The Belt and Road Initiative is good, right? The Eurasian Economic Union and all the economic expansion and growth that Russia is doing right now, that I just talked to people about from all over the planet at the World Youth Festival, is good. Growth is good. And anyone who tells you that growth is bad is trying to kill you. And that's what the Democrats are doing. They want less people. They want abortions. They want to drive down living standards. They want impoverishment, right? They think human beings are a cancer. I don't, right? I think growth is good. And that is gearing up. That is really the battle that we're living on right now. That is the fight. The World Economic Forum and all those forces are trying to save capitalism with degrowth. And the socialist world is raising countries up out of poverty with growth. And the lower level of capital right now that are libertarian and Republican, they're all confused. But at the end of the day, they believe in growth. And so do the anti-imperialist countries like Russia, like China, like Venezuela, like Iran, like Cuba, like Vietnam. They believe in growth as well. And we need to build an anti-monopoly coalition to defeat the ultra-rich and their agenda of creating a low-wage police state and reducing consumption. We need to build a pro-growth, pro-humanity coalition to defeat the ultra-rich and to defeat the Eastern establishment. That's what we need to do. And I'm for that. And we need to appeal to people's anger about the economic circumstances and how hard it is to survive. We need to appeal to people's desire to have children who have a better life than they've had. We need to appeal to people's desire to have strong leaders who can implement policies to make life better. We need to appeal to people's desire to live and not succumb to all this pessimism and death. Right? So that's what they're afraid of in this speech. And that's what they don't like. She's talking about helping people have children, not reducing the population. She's talking about creating new growth and economic opportunities, not, living in a pod and owning nothing and being happy about it. This is the divide that we're living in. This is the fight of our times. Growth versus degrowth. The attempts to save capitalism with fascist Malthusian degrowth, and the human spirit and its drive to keep expanding and developing technology and reaching new heights and breaking through new barriers.
I know you're probably disgusted by most of what you see going on in Washington, and I'll be really honest with you. You're not wrong for feeling that way. Look, I get it. The task in front of us isn't an easy one, but I can promise you one thing. It is worth it. So I am asking you, for the sake of your kids and your grandkids, get into the arena. Every generation has been called to do hard things. American greatness rests in the...
This is very unique here. This is very telling. This is what activists, it used to be only, not even regular Democrats said stuff like that. It was only Dennis Kucinich, far left Democrats would say, it's time to get involved. We need a movement. But even mainstream Democrats didn't talk that way. But this is a Republican, and she's saying you have to get involved in politics. We need to mobilize the people. That's what she's saying. She's calling for the creation of some kind of mass movement. And what that's about is the lower levels of capital know that they can't win this on their own. They need the working class to get involved, right? Because the ultra monopolies, they control Facebook, they control Twitter, they control the mainstream media. They have the power. And the only way the lower levels of capital can get the economic growth they want is to mobilize the working class. She's saying, get involved. It's time for ordinary people to get involved. Conservatives never talked that way. Never talked that way. Right? And even mainstream Democrats never talked that way. She's calling for a mass movement now because the lower levels of capital are getting the shit kicked out of them by the ultra monopolies and the ultra rich. And however, if they want to get people involved, you need to mobilize them by giving them economic benefits. You need to fight for people to have health care. You need to fight for people to have education. You need to fight for public control of our natural resources, public control of banking. You need to fight for a new program of economic expansion. You need to fight for you have to move in a socialistic direction. If you want to mobilize people to go out and fight against the ultra rich and their degrowth agenda, you can't do this free market crap. This free market crap isn't going to work, right? You need to fight for socialism, right? And the people that are listening to her that are mad about economic conditions, number one, and want strong leadership, what they want is socialism, right? What they want is an American Hugo Chavez, right? That's what they want, right? But they don't know it yet because they're conservative and because the so-called left has become synonymous with cancel culture and stupid identity politics, right? Deep within the MAGA movement, there are people, what people really want, what many of the people in the MAGA movement really want, even though they don't admit it, is they want socialism. They want a socialist mass movement. And that is something that's going to be very hard. It's going to take a long time for them to come to terms with the fact that they want that. But deep down, many people in Trump's base are economically suffering. They're worried about the future of their country. They want a government of action that will fight for working families, that will control the means of production in order to ensure economic growth, that will stand up to the big monopolies. That's what they want. And it's a tough pill to swallow. And it's not a quick fix solution. But deep down, the struggling working class of this country, they want a genuine socialist movement that has nothing to do with this woke crap. So not an easy quick fix solution, but I'm just telling you, this is what people who talk about MAGA communism, this is what they're getting at, okay? And I don't think MAGA communism is a good brand because it's not a way of really communicating. It's just made to be ridiculed, right? It's just a very niche thing. Everyone who's MAGA hates communism. Everyone who's a communist hates MAGA. It's not a good brand, but it's pointing to this reality that deep within the people that are supporting Trump, there is a desire for a real socialist movement to transform economic conditions, a government of action to fight for working families.
That we always answer that call. It's who we are. Never forget, we are steeped in the blood of patriots who overthrew the most powerful empire in the world.
Ding, 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 ding. Did you hear that? We are steeped in the blood of patriots who overthrew the most powerful empire in the world. Now, those words were not chosen accidentally. You have to understand the context of those words. The New York Times, for the past several years, has been trying to convince Americans that the British Empire was good because it abolished slavery, that the American Revolution was just racist and had no purpose. Furthermore, who do you think is pushing the United States to do all of this Ukraine crap? Right? I mean, what country is heavily embedded in our politics? The British. And in fact, who is it that have been behind these kind of liberal degrowth policies? Google the Anglo-American establishment, right? It's that New England old money, the Atlantic Council, like it's British Empire, Malthusianism, British Empire degrowth. I mean, I'm telling you folks, the fact that she talked about destroying, overthrowing the most powerful empire in the world, and she's talking about the British Empire. Britain, that's constantly pushing the United States into a confrontation with Russia. Britain, that, has been talking about degrowth and Malthusianism and overpopulation for so long. I'm just telling you, those words were not chosen carefully. They know who they're against. The MAGA folks, they're libertarians, they're lower level capitalists, but they know that there is a very, very powerful Eastern establishment, Anglo-American establishment, that doesn't believe in economic growth and is trying to hold back economic growth. Now, they think they're communists, which they are not. They are definitely not communists, right? Because communism and Marxism is about economics. It's about public ownership of the means of production. But the folks trying to impose economic controls and degrow the United States are very, very British. It's the London Stock Exchange. It's the British royal family. It's the Atlantic Council. It's the World Economic Forum. It's very, very British. The degrowthers and the imperialists and the people pushing us into a confrontation with Russia, the Anglo-Saxon elite, we're talking about the British Empire.
We walk in the footsteps of pioneers who tamed the wild. We now carry forward the same flame of freedom as the liberators of an oppressed Europe.
That's right. Like, again, she's talking about America being a land of growth and optimism and economic opportunity and expansion and working hard and achieving your dreams. That's what this country used to stand for. And now capitalism is canceling that.
We continue to draw courage from those who bent the moral arc of the universe. And when we gaze upon the heavens, never forget that our DNA contains the same ingenuity that put man on the moon. America has been tested before, and every single time we've emerged unbowed and unbroken. Our history has been written with the grit of men and women who got knocked down, But we know their stories because they did not stay down. We are here because they stood back up. So now it's our turn.
I love this.
Our moment to stand up and prove ourselves worthy of protecting the American dream. Together, we can reawaken the heroic spirit of a great nation. Because America, we don't just have a rendezvous with destiny. We take destiny's hand and we lead it. Our future starts around kitchen tables just like this.
I love this.
With moms and dads just like you. And you are why I believe with every fiber of my being that despite the current state of our union, our best days are still ahead.
Love it.
May God bless you, and may God continue to bless these United States of America.
That end was awesome. That was a giant FU to the synthetic left and their oh, human beings are a cancer. There's no hope. America's an evil, racist country. Everyone should be miserable and poor. There's no that end was awesome. She's appealing to American growth, American optimism. She's appealing to the part. That last part was based, right? If she hadn't said all the stupid crap about Israel and all the stupid crap about Russia and all the stupid crap about other stuff, that end was firecracker. That was great. And that's what they don't like about the speech. Look, if they had gotten on and made fun of this speech for the bad stuff she said about wanting to build a border wall, I'm with them. If they had made fun of this speech for the stuff she said about wanting more police, I'm with them on that. If they had made fun of this speech for other things, but they don't like the tone. She's bemoaning the economic suffering that people are going through. Not acceptable. She's appealing to people's desire for strong leadership to make things better. She's urging people to get involved in the political process and get active to save their country. She's appealing to that hardworking American spirit of growth and innovation. And that is what they don't like. They attacked for the tone of the speech. And the tone of this speech was awesome. It was great. It was great. I think it was a great speech. And a lot of the content and a lot of what she advocated was dead wrong. But the basic message of the speech, we will not be degrown. We will not be canceled. We need a government that fights for working people. Working people are struggling. And we as a people, we can go and work hard and get ahead and put men on the moon and defeat the British Empire. I thought that was tremendous. That was absolutely tremendous. And that is what they're afraid of, right? Right? If she had delivered a standard Republican speech without that kind of emotion and rhetoric, if she hadn't been appealing to those sentiments, they wouldn't have attacked her as viciously as they have. Right? And that is the tone. Those sentiments are good sentiments. And that is why I'm telling you, folks, we need to get out of the movement to the masses, because the so-called left doesn't allow people to talk that way anymore. But it's on the right that people have the feelings that could be the basis of a real anti-imperialist movement in the United States. So on that note, folks, those were my opening remarks. Names and locations. Who is here with us tonight? Names and locations. I will call you all out as I see you. Names and locations. Who is with us? I guess this afternoon. I'm in Russia, so it's late at night. It's late at night here, but I guess names and locations. Who's with us? Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Samir is in Moscow. Hey, Samir. Good to see you. Right? Noah is recovering with jet lag in Boston. Zach is in Minneapolis. Rice is in Adelaide, Australia. Pahi in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Patch in Arizona. Welcome. Names and locations, folks. Names and locations. Alex is in Brazil. Shout out to you, Alex in Brazil. Names and locations. Randall Wilson in Lexington, Kentucky. Jennifer Ball in Macedonia, Alabama. I got to ask him a question. It was awesome. Still high from that. I come on way too early for you. There you go. Colin in Greensboro. That's in North Carolina, by the way. There we go. There we go. Right? Got to just get rid of these trolls, folks. I don't like trolls. Names and locations. Names and locations. Names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Who is with us? All right. A Bulgarian living in Mexico. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Right? Oh, I got Battle Cossack. You've been sending a number of super chats, and I love all of them. There you go. Love all of them. All right. Names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Names and locations. Who's with us? Names. Oh, we got Briggy in Pennsylvania. Shout out to Briggy. Good to have you with us. XL in San Diego. Good to have you as well. Names and locations. Names and locations. Who is with us tonight? Names and locations. Gabby from Chicago. Good to have you, Gabby. Good to have you. Beloved member of our community. Good to have you. Gabby in Chicago. Names and locations. Names and locations. St. David in Bermuda. Very good. Very good. Anybody else? Anybody else? Names and locations. Anybody else? Who's with us? Names and locations. Names and locations. Who's with us? Who's with us? Kuala Lumpur. All right. All right. Kuala Lumpur. Anybody else? Names and locations. Names and locations. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And make sure you hit the notifications bell. Lincoln in Adelaide. San Jose. David in San Jose. Right? Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also, folks, I will remind you that not only are super chats a way to get me talking and answering questions, it's a way to support the channel, to support the work that I do. I pay astronomical rent in New York City. So if you're able to, to give a super chat, get me talking about something or whatever, it's a good way to support the channel, good way to support the work that we do. Did want to quickly remind everybody that we are having a national education workshop for the Center for Political Innovation that is happening in Vermont. That'll be happening at the end of April, April 26th through April 29th. It's going to be very awesome. So if you can be there, please register. We want to have as many people there as possible. New people are absolutely welcome. We've got a few people who just joined CPI. Glad to have them. So if you're able to make it, by all means, please register. We'd love to have you at our national educational workshop in Vermont. It's going to be really, really great. So go ahead and register. I'd love to have you there. It should be awesome. Should be awesome. Hope you can join us. All righty. All righty. Join us for our national retreat. We've got 4 super chats. If anyone has any more super chats, that would be great. And I will just start answering them. Battle Cossack says, Caleb, thank you for everything you do. I hope America can change and abandon imperialism and join the rest of the world in unity. Yes, and we are the real patriots. Right? We want the United States to move toward being friends with Russia, friends with China, friends with Iran, friends with Venezuela. We want an economy that's organized to serve public good and not the profits of a wealthy few. We are the inheritors of the progressive tradition that has always existed in this country from the time of the struggle to abolish slavery to the time of suffragists and the labor movement, the struggle against the Vietnam War, the Black Panthers, right up to today. Right? We want a government of action that fights for working families, and breaking America free from imperialism would be great for the country. So, yeah. I mean, we are the true patriots. We are anti-imperialists. So there we go. Next question. All right. I know that some Republicans want to use the cartels as an excuse to invade Mexico. Very true. accuse AMLO being linked to them, which is ridiculous. What I've seen there, a minority like Maria Salazar. Yes, and it's bad, right? AMLO is it's like the first real president Mexico has had in a long time. He's much more independent, but the police in Mexico are largely trained and tied in with the American deep state. And he's fighting an uphill battle. Mexico has kind of a popular front progressive government right now. It's not a socialist country by any means. It's still a capitalist country, but they've elected a leader who's more independent and has allowed, part of the Morena coalition is a genuine anti-imperialist communist party, the PT, right? The Labor Party of Mexico, which is it's got ties to North Korea. It's friendly to North Korea, and it's got support from labor unions and stuff. So, AMLO, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, the Mexican president, is pretty good, but he's fighting an uphill battle. And the cartels still have a lot of power, and the cartels are all armed by the Mexican police, and they're armed by the United States. And so it's a messy situation. It's absolutely a messy situation. So, but the solution to the cartel crisis is not building a big wall, and it's not, dividing families. It's creating economic opportunity. We at CPI, we've talked about the Sandino Zapata economic corridor, having the United States team up with China, and Nicaragua and El Salvador to make a corridor of economic development between the USA and Central America in order to eliminate the drug cartels, provide economic opportunity, build infrastructure. That's the solution. We need economic development. The solution to drug cartels, the solution to terrorism is economic development. You fight terrorism with jobs, not drones. You fight drugs with jobs, not drones, right? There you go. It's not as exciting, doesn't make a good action movie. You don't make money for the weapons manufacturers that way, but you fight terrorism and you fight drug cartels with economic opportunity, right? And that's what China has so successfully demonstrated with their Belt and Road Initiative. That is the way we will overcome the drug cartels. Poor people in Mexico love him, including my grandma. That's pretty cool, Gabby, but it's true. He is a popular leader who's delivering good economic policies, right? And we need an American leader like that. And that's what deep down, whether they realize it or not, that's what a lot of Trumpers want. And that's what they're really scared of. And that's why populism is the big scary thing that we're all supposed to oppose. Populism. We can't have populism. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason they're always trying to get us to hate populism. There's a reason for that. And, and there's a reason the left has become so stupid and ridiculous, right? We need a government of action that fights for working families. We need to appeal to people's desire for such a thing. There you go. Noah, shout out to Noah. Glad you're back and safe and all of that. It's true. Every time you learn a TikTok dance, you become 5% more exactly. The idea that TikTok is controlled by China or is Chinese propaganda. It's like, it shows that if you just say something over and over and over again, it becomes true. No matter, it's like there's no conceivable way TikTok is controlled by China. It's just not controlled by the CIA. It's a little bit more independent than other social media outlets. God forbid. Right? The FBI, it's been proven now, thanks to the Twitter files, that the FBI has been telling Twitter who goes viral, who doesn't. The FBI has been telling Facebook what stories to suppress and what news stories get to go places with the news curators and all of that. And TikTok is a bit more independent, and they can't stand that. And that's all there is to it. And it's not controlled by China. It's not available on the Chinese mainland. It's not subject to any censorship by the Chinese government. There's all kinds of anti-China, anti-communist crap on TikTok, right? I mean, it's like, but they just keep repeating it. Oh my God, it's evil, it's evil, it's evil, right? And this Restrict Act that they put forward to ban TikTok is a really horrendous piece of legislation. Absolutely horrendous piece of legislation that would just strip away all of our rights. The Mises Cox Libertarian Party actually had a very good expose. This Restrict Act is insane. All right. Katie Britt reminds me of Lila Limon, whatever she talks about foreign policy. The way she talks about to cry sounds much like Malay's girlfriend. Let me just talk about this Malay idiot, right? Every time he gets up, he gives a really, really dumb speech. Oh, I'm glad you liked it, Muhammad. He gets up and he gives a dumb speech about how free markets are the answer. And all these people share it, Malay, and they're like, oh, he's fighting the elite. No, he's not. right? The elite have been promoting privatizations and free markets and all of that for years, right? And it's like nothing about Milei is anti-imperialist. He's an Israel worshiper, right? He is an enemy of the BRICS, right? Argentina was going to join the BRICS, and then he got in office and he pulled them out of the BRICS because, he doesn't want to break out of the domination of Wall Street banks and the World Economic Forum. He wants the dollar, right? I mean, there's nothing revolutionary about Javier Milei. That guy is shit. Like, he's just a complete shill of the United States, shill of Israel, shill of Western imperialism, anti-Russia, anti-China. Javier Milei is a free market idiot, right? I mean, he's just a stupid free market idiot. And I debunked his speech. You can watch my debunking of his speech. I ripped his World Economic Forum speech to shreds. And the idea that guy is fighting the elites or something, he's doing nothing of the kind. It's a lot like Bolsonaro. Like these guys are just like, they're putting free market policies in effect. I mean, there's nothing revolutionary about Javier Milei. Okay. So let's just get that out there while we can. But anyway, folks, I guess that's the end of the show. There was a few super chats there, but I'll find something to talk about. I'll stream again as soon as I can. I'm traveling, so I don't know how much, I had a free day yesterday, a free day today, so I was able to do a lot of streaming, but I don't know exactly when I'll be able to stream again. Hopefully tomorrow, but I might be traveling. I don't know. I don't really know what's on the agenda. I just know I'm here for the elections. I'm going to be here until the elections are over. So should be back in the United States shortly after the elections. But I'm streaming. Join the Center for Political Innovation. We need more members to join. Attend our national workshop. It's coming up in Vermont. Join our. Oh, here's a good question. What do you think the outcome will be for America once AI and robotics replace the workforce? Well, the outcome is going to be a long-term economic crisis, right? Which doesn't make any sense, right? Technological breakthroughs should lead to greater poverty and less work for everybody, or should lead to greater abundance. But in capitalism, right, in an irrational system where production is organized to maximize profits for a wealthy few, technological breakthroughs make everyone poorer. And that is the problem of capitalism. The problem with capitalism is not that it creates growth. The problem with capitalism is that it holds back growth. People become homeless because there are too many houses. People become hungry because there is too much food. This isn't rational. We need a society where the economy is organized to serve public good and not the profits of a wealthy few. And that's how Russia became a superpower and beat the Nazis and invented space travel and industrialized with central planning, 5-year economic plans. Stalin mobilized the country to build, and because they weren't held back by the irrationality of the market, they expanded. China has become the second largest economy in the world because they organize the economy and they have a strong popular government that forces the economy to work in the interests of the people, right? And, we need to get beyond the narrow horizon of bourgeois right. We need to get beyond profits in command. We need an economy that serves public good, not the profits of a wealthy few. We need the means of production to be organized to serve public good. And artificial intelligence, it leads toward that problem of the tendency of the falling rate of profit, because at the end of the day, only human labor creates value. Only human labor creates value, right? So when human beings are eliminated from the assembly line, the amount of profit that the capitalist can make decreases. Capitalists can only extract surplus value, can only extract profit from human labor. So when you eliminate workers from production, the rate of profits that the capitalists make goes down. I will show you a video, right? This is a video that Peter Coffin made, right? And he included it in the documentary he made about CPI. But I'm gonna put this on for you all because I just, this point can't be made enough. I'll just put this on because this is what socialism is all about. This is what Marxism is all about, is about what's talked about in this clip. And it's not about other stuff, right? And I just this is the Marxist economics that I firmly believe in. I'm critical of Marxist philosophy and the synthetic left and all that, but Marxist economics is right on point, and the tendency of the falling rate of profit, the problem of overproduction. Peter edited this great clip of me talking about it. Here we go. Explain what needs to be explained, what used to be considered Marxism 101, about why it is that our Western capitalist economy is crashing and burning. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to do some math. And I hate math. Do you know why I hate math? Because I grew up in America. I went to public school in the United States of America, so I am going to, at risk of embarrassing myself, because math was never my best subject, I am going to do some mathematics here on the board for you to explain the problem.
I very much enjoyed Caleb's speech.
So if you are creating a product, right? If you're a factory owner, you're making a product, you are going to need the material through which that product is made, the manufacturing materials. So that'll be A.
The simple equation you put forward to explain the crisis of overproduction and the falling rate of profit.
And you're probably going to need to transport the product to where it's sold. That's B.
It broke down where your money goes.
You're also going to have to pay your labor costs. Labor costs are represented by C.
Explanations of those concepts that people are able to understand.
Then when consumers purchase the product, they're going to pay a final price. And that final price is D. However, there's a problem with that.
I like the fact that he framed it that way to make it very clear.
Which is that the capitalist can't change how much A costs. He can't change how much B costs. So the profit of the capitalist can only be extracted from the value put into it by the worker. And this is the basis of Marxism, the understanding of surplus value.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere. I've never been able to explain it that simply.
So C, the labor value, is divided. You have C1, which is what the worker actually gets paid. And then you have C2, which is the profit that the capitalist makes. And it all adds up to D, which is the final cost of the product. Now, the way people in the United States who talk about Marxism generally talk about this is they say, well, this is unfair. They say the worker is not getting paid the full value of his labor. But they're missing one of the most important points, which is not just that it's unfair and then people argue, well, what about the employer? He put up the money, doesn't he deserve to be? That's all a distraction. Because the important thing to understand is this. C1 is always going to be less than D. The wages paid out to the worker are never enough to buy back the product that he produces. There is always more products created than there are wages paid out to the worker. And this is the built-in problem of capitalism, the problem of overproduction. And it is always there in the capitalist economy. It never goes away. And they have invented all kinds of crazy mechanisms to try and deal with the problem of overproduction. Part of the reason that the US government has purchased billions and billions of dollars worth of cheese only to bury it in a cave in Springfield, Missouri, is to deal with this problem. It is an ongoing present problem, and it's a problem acknowledged by most capitalist economists. John Maynard Keynes said the problem was underconsumption rather than overproduction, but he was pointing to the same problem. The military-industrial complex in the United States is an effort to deal with this problem, to keep spending going. There's all kinds of mechanisms that they've invented to try and resolve this problem, but it gets worse. What is the capitalist always trying to do? He wants to maximize the amount of profit he makes. And one of the main ways they do that is with what's called labor-saving technology. Get rid of workers and replace workers with machines. As they eliminate workers from the process of production, as there's fewer and fewer workers involved, as machines take the place of workers, the role of C in production decreases. There's a little bit of a problem with that. As C goes down, C2 also goes down, right? As C decreases, C2 also decreases. And as the role of the worker in production is reduced, the rate of profit that the capitalist makes goes down. And this is called the tendency of the falling rate of profit. Only human labor creates value. And this is something that Adam Smith acknowledged. This is something some of the popes even acknowledge. Human labor creates all value. And so when you reduce the role of human labor in production, the amount of value created decreases, and the ability of the capitalist to extract surplus value also decreases. So this causes the capitalist to have to churn out even more products because he's making less and less of a profit on the overall product. He's making less and less of a percentage, so he has to churn them out. So this problem of the worker never being able to buy back what he produces and more products being created than are necessary, this problem becomes exacerbated. And this points to what is understood to be the deeply irrational nature of the capitalist system.
Communism will save America.
Yeah, right? Again, that's Marxism. You go and read Socialism, Utopian, and Scientific. You go and read, any of the Marxist texts. The problem with capitalism is that abundance creates poverty, and that's not rational. In systems of the past, people were homeless because there wasn't enough housing. Capitalism makes people homeless because there's too much housing. Systems of the past, people were hungry because there wasn't enough food. Capitalism, people are hungry because there's too much food. This isn't rational, and it calls for society as a whole to take control of the means of production and rationally organize them so that growth is no longer restricted by this problem of overproduction and the tendency of the falling rate of profit. So that's important, right? And that is why artificial intelligence is going to lead to a long-term crisis that can only be resolved with socialism. So there you go. And that was a really great video that Peter made. And yeah, so it's been good, folks. It's been fun. I guess I'll say good night, good afternoon, or whatever. It's late here. It's pretty late at night here. It's almost midnight here. But yeah, I'll put on the closing music. I'll be back.
New upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression. But the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. And while the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today.